Stockdale.
Right, 26 after midday. Well, while the government is trying to sort out the fine detail on its guarantee of bank deposits, the Prime Minister and members of his cabinet are continuing their consultation with business in regard to the current financial crisis, as they should. And last week, they met with the big end of town, and today they're in Queensland meeting with the representatives of small business. And one of them is Scott Driscoll, head of the Retailers Association, and they represent independent retailers, mostly in the grocery industry. And he says they have to see some real changes or we risk losing thousands of jobs. And I'm very happy to say that Scott Driscoll's on the line now. G'day.
Hi, Jim.
In the middle of the meeting, and thanks for coming out. How's it going?
Look, it's actually just about to start, so we've got high hopes for it, and we certainly hope that the Prime Minister and Treasurer are ready to take some notes out of today.
Yeah, you make the point that you don't want this to just be a photo op and a media opportunity. You want to see some meaningful change here.
Oh, Tim, it can't be. We can't afford to have that. This is a great opportunity for the Prime Minister, Treasurer and senior ministers to take an awful lot from the very heart of small business, which is the engine room of Australia. We want to see some fundamental structural change on the back of the pump prime that the government's done and make a sustainable way forward for small business in the country.
Yeah, Scott, Jerry Harvey made the point now. That's the big end of town that he's suffering and he's seeing his sales down fairly dramatically. Now, Jerry can probably absorb that because he's big enough and ugly enough, but at the small business level, I mean, you can't absorb that sort of hit, can you?
No, that's right. I mean, many small business people are fairly concentrated in their exposure, demographically or locationally. So certainly we need to see some things like accelerated depreciation of capital investments to encourage business to further invest in themselves. We want to see the Prime Minister put the pressure on the states to get rid of things like payroll tax and tax on business insurances. And, there's a lot of very meaty issues that the Prime Minister has control over, and really we're in times that demand putting everything on the table.
But, Scott, at the coalface, if you like, if I can put it that way, I mean, what you really need in small business is people coming through the door. And when they're fearful about their money and when the next interest rate cut's going to be, I mean, that's it, isn't it? I mean, get people's confidence back so they will walk in your shop's door.
Absolutely. We want to see, Australia is fundamentally fairly strong in the sense of the rest of the world, and I think we need to look at the positives very much, and we don't want to see political opportunism on any side of Parliament and talking things down. It and can be a positive outlook. The Prime Minister is in strong negotiation, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks with the business sector, both ends, and we're very positive moving forward, and the opportunities are there for change, and we just want to see the government commit to that and make today very worthwhile.
So you represent, people like IGA and the small corner shop, those sort of people?
Look, we've got several thousand, Tim, right across the country, from IGAs, Foodworks, Friendly Grocers, Retrovisions and many non-food, but all independent retailers, all people who basically are run by family-owned businesses. So they're local community members as well. And that's the other thing that the government needs to understand. Small business is a family business. They do think like individuals just the same as the consumers out there to a great extent. We don't have big corporate head offices that can sort of look at the picture right across the country, and as you made a point in the beginning, just distribute losses and offset them. We're far more exposed than that, and we need to see positive outcomes out of today.
Yeah, mate, we've seen a service station operator in Sydney make a point, some people calling it a stunt, and I think she's been backed by ACA, dropping a fuel price down to around 95 or 96 cents a litre and causing traffic jams up Sunnyholt Road in Blacktown. Is that the sort of thing that small business are going to be driven to unless something changes?
Look, I think small business are probably looking at things, that are going to benefit them long term. The majority of people don't want to see a situation where stunts need to occur. We're a pretty pragmatic group of people. These are everyday Australians in small business, and that's the thing to remember. We're not corporations. Every other Australian, and we want to see sustainable, strong outcomes for our family businesses and for our community. Stunts are not on, whether they be politicians or otherwise. We want to see sustainable structural change in a time where there are some pretty hefty challenges for the government to get it right.
Yeah, it seems that what we're doing at the moment, and look, with the best of intentions, I thought, but it's certainly backfired, guaranteeing the money in big banks. You don't want to see change just for now. You want to see change for 2009 and beyond.
Has to be, Tim. We don't want to see sort of a situation where the government has to dip in again to into the surplus we think the answers are there with structural changes. As I said, encourage business growth and expenditure by things like accelerated depreciation. Get on to some reforms too with regard to things like creeping acquisitions. Make sure that Coles and Woolworths can't come in and take over an entire town, and make sure that the independents are gone. I mean, we don't want to see that. It's not healthy for consumers. It's not going to give the confidence to small and independent businesses. And the government has the opportunity now to say, look, enough's enough, line in the sand, let's move forward together, and let's recognise the fact that small business is the biggest employer in the country. I mean, the retail sector, for example, represents a $300 billion industry, and we're very heavily representative of them, and that's 1.2 million plus Australian jobs that we're looking after as well.
Oh, mate, we can't let Coles and Woolies run the game, just like we can't let the major oil companies run the game. I mean, there has to be room for the smaller people, the smaller retailers, the independents, all of those people. Otherwise, I mean, you just end up with monopolies, and that's not good for anybody.
Kim, that's right. We've got Graham Samuel here today when we go in, and I hope he's got his notepad ready as well, because certainly the government needs to empower him and send him on a pretty strong mission to make sure that there's a sustainable future for independent and family-owned businesses in the country. And as I said, we know them. We've got them in every town. They're the heart and the backbone of most communities, and they need to be looked after in these times. And they're an optimistic bunch, and they just want to do what they do well. Yeah,
good on you. All right. Well, I'm keeping you from the meeting, so off you go.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, mate. That's Scott Driscoll from the Retailers Association, and it's a pretty good point. I mean, Coles and Woolies, you can't have them owning the game, and it's not a bashing up of Coles and Woolies. I mean, you've got an environment where they do really try to squeeze out the smaller retailers in their areas, and we've proved that, so that they do own the game. And then you do grocery watch, and you look at a basket of groceries in Coles and Woolies, and the difference is like 2 cents on the entire basket. So, what do you call that? Comfortable oligopoly? Yeah. Well, that's how the oil companies exist. And, we've got the new petrol commissioner saying he can do something about that. Well, they've all been saying that over years and years and years. Yes, we can do something, but we're going to crack down on all of this, and nothing ever happens. And we're the ones that cop it in the neck. So whether that's a stunt or not by Marie Alkuri out there at Blacktown, I mean, she's certainly proving a point with the backing of a current affair. And people will, I mean, that's the thing. The thing is, as we said yesterday, people will line up, halfway down Sunny Holt Road, cause a traffic jam, to get, $20 or $30 off their tank of petrol. Maybe not even that. Are they trying to make a point to the government? Yeah, see, it's got to be more level, it's got to be more even, and it's got to be more fair income. That good old Aussie expression, because otherwise you let the biggies run the game, and that's to the detriment of everybody, really. It's 26 minutes to 1.